Hi guys and girls, I'm Obsidian Ant and welcome to 3307. This is where I take a look at the news and happenings in and around Elite Dangerous. This week, Frontier acknowledged the issue with PlayStation 4 players having problems. We hear some details on when to potentially expect the next dev diary, and there's going to be some pretty heavy restrictions with instancing between Horizons and Odyssey players. Over the past few weeks, it's come to attention that a number of PlayStation 4 players have continued to have problems with accessing planetary surfaces. Essentially, the game tells them they don't own Horizons, even though everyone at this point actually does own Horizons. This means that PlayStation 4 players who are affected are cut off from a huge portion of the game. Now, this problem has been going on since early January, and Frontier have by and large ignored it. There's been a few replies from support and a few comments posted by Frontier support on Reddit, but there's been nothing in the way of official clarification or confirmation on what's going on. That is, until today, where Frontier posted the following to the forums. We are aware that some PlayStation commanders are experiencing an issue in accessing Horizons content on their accounts. If you are experiencing this issue and would like to help aid our investigation, please can you submit a ticket to our support team here and include the following information. Then lists 4 points of information that they ask don't post publicly, obviously because it's a security risk. Basically, they are working hard to find a solution and will endeavour to update us when they have more to share. Now, in a live stream that's gone out this evening, Frontier did say that they have a potential fix in the works and it may be deploying at some point in the not too distant future, so we'll have to wait and see for more information on that. The real question here, for me at least, is why did Frontier take so long to publicly discuss this? Now, we don't know numbers, we don't know how many players it's actually been affecting, but I would imagine that Frontier should have been well aware of it. I put up a poll last week on this, asking the players how many people have been affected by this. Have you been affected by it if you play on PlayStation 4? And we can see here that around about 2,400 PlayStation players responded to the poll, and of those, 900 say they had issues accessing Horizons content. So, yeah, do keep in mind this is of course a YouTube poll, so it's not necessarily reflective of the entire community, and also it's very easy for people to just respond incorrectly and just make stuff up just for the laughs. But that aside, it does seem that a pretty significant amount of players, PlayStation players that is, have had issues here, so hopefully this gets fixed sooner rather than later. In today's official Elite Dangerous livestream, Frontier briefly discussed the next dev diary for Odyssey, as well as a new PR piece or asset. There's no release date yet on any of these, and unfortunately no details on what either of them will contain. Frontier did say they are aiming to get the dev diary out for early March, although this could slip back a bit, so we will just have to wait and see how that goes. Now, it's certainly nice to see that Frontier are willing to give a vague release window here, rather than worrying about people throwing their toys out of the pram if plans change. Vague info, as far as I'm concerned, is better than no info. The other side of this token, however, is that it's been far too long since the last dev diary and anything really concrete about Odyssey, so really the sooner the better on this. The other piece they mentioned was what they called a PR asset. There was no real explanation for what that means, but it seems very likely, to me at least, that it's a trailer of some sort. Frontier did specifically mention that this piece will have new gameplay footage. Whilst they gave a potential release window of early March for the dev diary, they didn't give a release window for the other set of new footage. Now, if I were to speculate on this, I would say that this new footage is a trailer for the upcoming alpha release. I'd also further speculate that the alpha might just release sometime in March. The reason for me thinking this is because Frontier have now committed to releasing Odyssey in May on their financial reports, and I think this is very unlikely to change at this point. So if we go with the idea of a May release, a March alpha seems very likely, simply to give enough time for the alpha to be of any use. After all, an alpha in April or May would be pretty useless, I'd imagine. But as I say, all of this is pure speculation, as always with me and these type of things. So yeah, it's just a theory of a potential trailer perhaps coming soon, leading me to think that just maybe there's a potential alpha also coming soon, but yeah, we'll have to see, unfortunately. Like I say, a bit of an odd situation. Vague information is certainly better than no information, but something more concrete would certainly be very welcome. In another new piece of information from today's live stream, Frontier talked about instancing between players with the base game of Elite, which includes Horizons, and owners of Odyssey. There's a bit of an issue here due to the age ratings, it appears. Horizons has an age rating of PEGI 17, however the act of shooting avatars of humans in a game requires a higher PEGI rating. This means that Odyssey will have a higher age rating than Horizons. Due to this, Horizons players will not be able to instance with Odyssey players in a location where the two can physically shoot at each other when a human avatar can be involved. So this basically will prevent Horizons players and Odyssey players instancing together in these types of areas when down on a non-atmospheric planet, for example, and any other location where this type of activity is possible. Now, this is definitely a bit of a strange turnout for the game, so much so in fact that I really wanted to seek clarification on whether this information is correct. So I have seen the Frontier confirm that this is actually true. I've seen them confirm that on a public Discord server recently, and I've also confirmed this directly with Frontier myself. The details though on how, when and where this will all apply is something that Frontier will be clarifying at some point in the future. For now though, we know for sure that there will be some pretty extreme restrictions on instancing between Horizons and Odyssey players. Moving on, this week Frontier posted a summary Q&A of the livestream with Dr. K. Ross that they did last week. And this livestream was on the planetary tech. The Q&A on the forum gives more or less all the same information, but there are one and two new points that are worth bringing up here because these weren't actually discussed during the livestream itself. So one of these is, will console users see the new graphical changes at the same time as PC users? So the answer to this is no. Console users unfortunately are going to have to wait until the release of Odyssey on their platform before they see any graphical changes or any planetary tech updates. Another question here that I don't remember from the live stream, although it may have been in there and I may have missed it, was to do with the caves and other such features. Will these be a part of Odyssey? Frontier have said to this that caves aren't currently a part of the plan for Odyssey. The focus instead is on a planet-wide improvement. Now, a question I did have at the end of the previous live stream, and I did mention it in Friday's video I think, was whether or not Odyssey will bring multiple light sources into it. Basically, light sources from multiple stars. Frontier have said that as they're aiming for similar specs to the base game for Odyssey, they won't be including multi-source lighting in the systems, and that's basically for performance and art reasons. And another point here, will auroras be visible on some atmospheric planets? The answer to this, whilst planets with atmospheres will look different, there are no plans for visible auroras at the moment. The rest of the information on this Q&A is exactly the same, pretty much as what was covered in the live stream itself, but I will link it below in case you want to go over to the forums and take a read of that for yourselves. That then brings us to an end of this episode of 3307. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time.